Bones of any mammalian skeleton, they're incredibly complex, which is a good thing for this because they're going to be extremely hard to reproduce. Shape of the skull is interesting. It's very elongated, an atypical appearance of a human skull. Bones of any mammalian skeleton, they're incredibly complex, which is a good thing for this because they're going to be extremely hard to reproduce. Shape of the skull is interesting. It's very elongated, an atypical appearance of a human skull.
Hi.
Okay. Can you hear me?
No.
I can hear you all right.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched a little bit of that video with Jim Mars.
That was the fella.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of free zoners?
Freeze owners?
Yeah.
No.
Well, there's a guy named Freeman Fly, and he has a show that he calls the Free Zone. But the thing is, this other guy from Texas, Josh Reeves, has discovered that there is a bunch of people that are practicing Scientology, but they are not Scientologists. In other words, they're not associated, they're not indoctrinated into the Church of Scientology.
Yeah.
And it's quite a long list of people, a lot of our leaders and stuff like this, and he's claiming that Jim Mars is one of these people that,
I heard about that. Some of them were saying that they started in Scientology, but they'd broken away from it.
Yeah. Basically, the CIA and all that shit is taking over Scientology, and they're getting rid of Miscavige, and they're going to put Tom Cruise in his place. And Tom Cruise already has a nice big place up in England, they say.
Yeah. Well, they were saying that Tom Cruise was, or was it you that were saying Tom Cruise was leaving? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, it was Miscavige is leaving, and they're putting in Tom Cruise in there. Supposedly, yeah. This is just all secondhand information that I'm getting, but Josh Reeves is somebody that really has discovered a lot of things that he's connected the dots. Everyone's wondering what all this conspiracy is and everything, at least on the human level, and it's really hard to understand a lot of it, although we know the basic facts, or supposedly, the Rockefellers and all this stuff, New World Order, Bilderbergers. But Josh Reeves is somebody that's connected all the dots, connects the whole Hollywood thing into it, and what's starting to become apparent is that a lot of the rock groups and stuff like that we grew up on and idolized and stuff, they were all straight from Tavistock, or
Yes.
you know.
Well, we've got the Tavistock Institute. We've got that here in London.
Yeah, yeah. They don't have one over here where we are. You know, we have whatever our version is of it. You know, the CIA or whatever.
Well, I've been feeling very strange since yesterday because I've got this. I've been following, starting to study remote viewing, and I've only been looking at it a couple of days, but I've been feeling very different, like a door's been opened, and I don't even know how to remote view. But just because I've started to study it, I just feel an awakening. I'm feeling just totally different, as if it's already in me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Now, let me ask you this. You know, a lot of it, they're going to try to compromise anyone who's involved in it. So I don't know if this is done through the astral plane, but, they've got their radar out for people that are getting involved in it. So it's only, if you go far enough down that path, it's only a amount of time until you are spotted and they decide how they want to deal with you.
I'm going to have to be very aware and very careful. And I'm thinking this is going back 40 years for me, because I remember when I had my near-death experience, when I was when I say coma, as far as I know, that was a coma, because I remember part of that experience in what I call my near-death experience, which as far as I know, I went to heaven. But I was in a hospital when that was happening, and as I don't know what was happening to me in reality at all. I equate it to being in heaven and meeting God and stuff, but who knows what was happening to me. And but there was one point where in my near-death experience, I was in a room where these guides, shall we call them, were trying to encourage me to go through this doorway, and they assumed I would just do as I was told, and I refused to go through that door and they said everybody goes through the door. I said, but I'm not everybody, and they thought I would go through this doorway on trust, and I'm in this weird place. I didn't know what was going on, and they expected me to trust them, and I reasoned with them. I said, well, you want me to open that door and just walk through it when I'm in this weird place? I don't know what's going on. And I said to them, it could be a bottomless pit, it could be a doorway into oblivion, and I need to know what's behind that door before I just open it and walk through. And I refused to go through it. And now I'm feeling like I'm standing in the same place, sort of going into the rabbit hole. And it's all weird stuff.
Yeah, one of the books that I did read about remote viewing, with the Russians, of course, they were very far ahead of us on this remote viewing. But when you get into the upper levels of it, it becomes basically synonymous with high-level black magic. You're dealing with entities and stuff like that. Entities that look part human, part animal, and stuff like that. Some of the old classic, ideas of Scratch, or a man with a bottom portion of a goat, goat hoofs, and then a lot of these archetypes seem to come up.
Yeah. Now I come to think of it, back in 2008, I was involved with a company that took me to Las Vegas, and that was a company that was going to take on Facebook, and we were in a very good position to take on Facebook and bring it down when Facebook was still relatively small. And I became involved with that company, and I went over to Las Vegas as one of its directors. Now, I could be a billionaire now if it had gone the way it should have gone. And that company was run by a Vietnamese man called Tommy Vu, who is a world-class poker player in Las Vegas. You ever heard the name Tommy Vu?
Yes, I have heard of him. I don't
You
follow
know.
poker that much, but yeah, I've heard of him.
And that company was potentially going to do very well, and I went over there as one of its directors. Now it was an American company, nothing to do with England, but I got to hear about that company, and I decided that I wanted to be part of that company, and they had telephone presentations every day that I got to hear about, and I got onto those calls that were on the telephone. I listened into them. I started asking questions. I thought I need to be part of this company. It's an up and coming company. So I got onto those calls and listened in, and I started asking questions. And I got on those calls every day, long distance from London, and it was only an American company. But I got onto those calls, calling in long distance every day, and I started asking questions. And so the people on the calls got to know me, and they started saying what I was hoping they might. They said, "Yeah, you're quite good at talking, Keith. Would you like to start doing these presentations?" I said, "Yes, I would." So I started calling long distance, actually doing the presentations, and pretty soon they were asking me to come over to the USA as one of the directors of the company. And it was going really well. And it was a social network, and we had 200,000 members, and we were taking on Facebook because we were doing something that was very different to Facebook, because unlike Facebook that kept all the profits because when you think about it, the Facebook was not built by what's his name, who owns it?
Mark Zuckerberg.
It was not built by Mark Zuckerberg. It was built by the members, wasn't it? Who all recommended it to each other and who all put the content in.
Right.
Zuckerberg didn't build anything. He built shit. It was the members who built that company. What we were going to be doing at Zenzu was we were going to be rewarding the members because we were going to distribute the profits of the company amongst the people who built it, which was the members. And that would have encouraged the members to be a lot more active in building the company, and it would have been a lot bigger now than Facebook is. You know, Facebook is fairly powerful now, isn't it? You imagine how much more powerful it would have been if the members had all been rewarded.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be the way of the world.
It would have been the biggest company on the planet. It would have been a lot more powerful than Zuckerberg. But all of a sudden things went pear-shaped, and the company decided to close down. So I think somebody put some influence on
yeah.
and told him to shut down.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it suddenly just disappeared with no explanation.
Yeah, somebody gave him the offer of lead or gold.
Yeah, which is a bloody shame.
Yeah.
But when I was with Tommy Vu, he was bringing in all kinds of, when we were starting, he was bringing in all kinds of peripheral businesses to make it succeed. And one of the things that he was bringing in was Russia. He was bringing in companies from Russia. And one of the things that he was bringing in from Russia was a company that could show us how to walk through walls.
How to walk through walls in your astral body?
No, how to walk through walls, literally walk through walls, and how to see through walls. If how to see through walls, and how blind people who had never been able to see could see. That was the kind of people he had contact with. And
well,
that was when we suddenly shut down.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I can imagine that the powers that be wouldn't want that type of information to get out.
No. And that was a bloody shame.
Yeah.
But the interesting was that Tommy Vu was. I went over to US and I met Tommy Vu, and I stayed in his house in Vegas, and I stayed in his parents' house in Orlando, Florida, and they were really nice people. And but he said, but the other directors of the company were not nice people. But Tommy Vu said to me, you're the best of them all, Keith. He said, I really like you because I'm a straight guy.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't gone pear-shaped, I would be leading that company today.
Man, that's a tough break.
Yeah. I would be a very wealthy man now. Not that wealth motivates me, but I would be in a very different role right now.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like some, intelligence agency or some, Illuminati type deal shut that deal down with Tommy Vu.
Yes. Yeah. And he's a man that came from Vietnam to the USA in a boat with nothing to his name.
Oh man, he must have been a hustler for real, huh?
Oh, he was a hustler. And he'd been in some trouble here and there.
What kind of trouble?
He did he did some dodgy deals, and he did a lot of those what do they call those adverts that he did?
Ponzi schemes?
Sorry, no, not
Ponzi schemes.
Not Ponzi schemes. There was he did these oh, I can't remember what those kind of adverts were called. He did these adverts where he was on on yachts and things with lots of glamour babes around him, showing people how to be successful in the 80s on TV and things. What do they call those kind of adverts?
Get rich quick scheme.
Well, those kind of things, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those are based around real estate.
Yeah, well, he did a lot of the real estate things, yes.
Yeah, because there's real money in that, so that's why it's easier to make a get rich quick scheme on it and get some people that can actually do it, and have some good testimonials.
Yeah, he did a lot of training seminars teaching people how to get rich and that kind of thing, how to invest in property, how you can be like me and have all the babes around you.
Right. Yeah, that's appealing to people. That's a good, testimonial right there. The success of the owner.
One of the people I met who's a good friend of mine now, who's still in Las Vegas. He was the spokesman for Zendu. His name is Joe Risk.
Joe Risk?
Yeah.
R-I-S-K?
R-I-S-K.
Yeah, it's interesting how a lot of times with the etymology, people have names that suits them.
Yeah, and he's actually an ordained pastor.
Oh, that's fascinating. In what religion? What Protestant religion?
I don't know what
Denomination.
He's actually married to a dominatrix.
Oh my goodness.
And she's a lovely lady. She's very nice.
Oh. Is she that 6 foot tall Chinese woman?
No, she's not. She's a 6 foot tall Jamaican woman.
Oh my goodness. Sounds like he's got his hands full.
And she's keen for me to go back and have some fun with her, but I haven't done that.
Oh my goodness. What does he think about that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Does he know?
I don't know. But I wouldn't do that to him because he's a good man.
Right.
And I'm not sure I want to get a beating either.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I know this subject of dominatrixes comes up with you often. So.
No, I wouldn't mind fucking her. She's a really nice woman.
Oh yeah. Well, some people think that I've actually got a dominatrix in my life, and that's not true. But yeah, there's a very, shall we say, strong woman in my life.
Yeah.
She's the meanest motherfucker I've ever met. That's for damn sure.
Mm.
And yeah, she's beating me too. That's weird.
You're not recording this, are you?
Every Skype conversation that I do is being recorded. I mean, why did you think I turned on my lights and took a shower and all that stuff?
But I don't know. I don't know.
That's why.
And are you going to be uploading it anywhere?
I don't guess so because we haven't said anything very interesting.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm being boring.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I was
And it's 5:10 in the morning here, by the way.
I know it. I know it. It's getting late over here too.
Yeah, but I'm finding it interesting studying the remote viewing. I've just uploaded a video to my. Did I? Yes, I did actually. I uploaded it to my timeline because one of my Doreen was asking me just now what it is that I've started studying. So I told her, and I uploaded a video that I just happened to find. Project Stargate CIA remote viewing of ancient Mars. So you'll be able to see that.
Is that the video that you sent me with Jim Mars?
What?
Is that the video that you? Is that the video that you sent me?
No, it's uploaded to my timeline.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out.
And I've not watched it myself yet. I've watched it about halfway through. But it's the CIA remote viewing ancient aliens on Mars.
Huh. Yeah, that goes about with just a lot of the narrative that we're hearing today. You know, they're just crossing all the lines, throwing it all together. Looks like there's getting ready to be some type of, I don't know if you want to call it disclosure, but, you know, they want everyone to believe in aliens, that's for sure.
Yeah. But with remote viewing, you need to be careful what you're doing because when you remote view a site, you never know. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
That's right. And if you're looking at them, they could be looking at you.
That's right. Well, whether or not you're looking at them, they can be looking at you.
Right. Yeah, especially once you've crossed that bridge, made that connection.
Yeah, but you can be sure that there is somebody looking at us all the time because we're interesting.
When you say us, you mean us as human beings, or you and me as individuals?
Well, us as not because we're human beings, but because we are a location. So there will be people out there who are looking at us, not because we're human beings, just because we're here. And because people are out, or I say people, there are entities out there who have the capability to look here because we are a location. And so they will be looking here. They won't know that we're here. They will look here because it's a location that they might be looking at. They'll think, let's have a look at this location, see what's there. They'll say, whoa, look at that. There's Ian, or there's Keith, and what's he doing? And maybe they'll see that. Can I use a bad word?
Maybe they'll see what?
Can I use a bad word?
Of course.
And there's Keith masturbating, and they won't even know what masturbating is.
Yeah. I don't know why they wouldn't know what it is.
Because they're not human, and they have no concept of the things that we might be doing.
I don't know where you get that. I mean, haven't they been watching us for a long time?
Well, we don't know who they are or what they are. They might be of some kind of, I use the word life form loosely, that has no concept of what our life form is. They might not. They might look in our direction and we're here. They may not even see us because they've got no way of understanding what we are. We might be invisible to them.
Well, yeah, they're invisible to us.
Yeah. They might even be inhabiting the same space that we're in, and we just don't see each other because we've got no concept of each other.
Yeah, very likely.
And all this thing could be going.
Yeah, there could be a lot of stuff going on. There is the idea that all of these aliens and extraterrestrials and everything like that all falls into one category, and that's the category of the jinn. That really, it's everything that's not a human is basically just jinn. It's a counterfeit, disguise. I don't know.
Well, we've got what we call aliens on the planet that are here with us and been here for thousands of years before we got here, and they're already here.
Yeah. So they're not aliens then.
It's hard to say whether they're aliens or whether we're aliens.
Yeah, especially if the souls that are within some people's bodies come from somewhere else in the galaxy, or somewhere else in the solar system.
Yes.
And that would mean that a spaceport, a real spaceport, is not a NASA type, rocket launching deal, but it's the maternity ward in your local hospital.
And I wonder whether with those aliens that are already here and been here for thousands of years, whether we are just cattle.
Well, yes, I'd say to some of them we are, because they've got to be consuming our energy. There's got to be some reason why, if we're consuming the energy of plants and animals, maybe there's got to be, it stands to reason that there's something consuming us. Well, they're not consuming us after we die, because
maybe consuming our flesh as well, because there's a lot of people vanishing off this planet all the time.
Yeah, a lot of people are vanishing. That's what they say. It's very bizarre, to get an idea of how many people are really in the world. I suspect that the world is actually much smaller than we're led to believe in terms of the amount of people.
Yes.
Isn't that something that Miles Johnson brought up the other day when you were interviewing him? The idea of bandwidth, that whatever the system is, it can only handle, quote unquote, projecting so many people, and so you go into all these big city centers like where I live, where you live, and you look around, there's not very many people.
Well, there's about 600,000 people live in my city. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
And if you walk through the town where I live, there you can see there are a lot of people. They're always getting in the way. None of them looking where they're going. Especially, I've noticed it's got a lot busier since we had mobile phones, because it's hard to walk through the town because nobody's looking where they're going because they've got the mobile phone in their face.
Yeah.
Before the mobile phones, it was a lot easier to get around because people were looking where they were going.
You're absolutely
But now
right.
they don't.
You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. It used to be a lot easier to see where we're going when people weren't cycling on the pavements everywhere. I keep getting people deliberately cycling into me. The other day, I had two young guys on their cycles deliberately cycled into me. They thought it was very funny. I should have punched them both in the face. They wouldn't have thought that was funny, would they?
No, they wouldn't have. They definitely would not have. Shit like that doesn't happen to me hardly very often. People have got a lot in common. They like to live.
No.
So I've always got that working for me.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go back to looking tough on the street, get my leathers out and see if they still cycle into me.
Yeah, there you go. Start pumping some iron, get some goddamn, I saw the doctor today, and take over management of all my properties.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that went down. And I'm still recovering from the financial fallout, but anything would have been better than what they were doing, was just ripping me off. I'm checking the other, oh wait, hold on, okay, I've got it recording back again. This thing stops every once in a while. I'm using another camera besides the one that we're looking at each other on the laptop. I've got another one over here.
Oh, known side effect. Make the dick fall off.
It makes your what?
Makes your dick fall off.
Makes your dick fall off?
Have you had any signs of your dick falling off yet?
No, my old lady hadn't said anything, so I'm probably okay. She's hyper.
You can do time travel.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I am on that. The whole time travel deal. I'm not too sure where I am on that. Whether I believe in that or not.
You mean you don't believe in time travel in general, or just in relation to remote viewing?
I believe far fewer things today than I did 2 years ago. I had many beliefs 2 years ago that I do not have today because I found out how much everything we're taught is just a fucking lie from beginning to end. So the truth is, of many things I don't know what I believe.
So do you think Montauk was a lie?
Well, there's disinformation associated with all of it. No, I think Montauk was real. I think it was 100% real.
Travel.
Excuse me?
You think Montauk time travel?
Well, that's the part I don't know whether I think it's real or not. Whether it was just some type of, astral travel or something like that. A lot of the idea of the astral realm and this realm that we go into when we're sleeping, it sounds very close to these alien abductions. How do we know that this, on an alien abduction, the people might be right there in bed? And they're not getting taken up into the craft, but only their astral body is being taken up into the craft. I'm kind of leaning along those lines. Maybe even in their car, their car just pulls over to the side and their body stays there, and their astral body is what gets pulled up into the spacecraft.
Well, the car would crash if they weren't there driving it, wouldn't it?
Well, no. If they use their subconscious or whatever to pull them over, so they pull over and just stop the engine, and then the body sits there while the astral body gets sucked up into the UFO or whatever.
How do you account for the lost time?
Well, if you were sitting there and your body was asleep and your astral body was somewhere else going around in space, you'd have some lost time, wouldn't you?
Well, how do you account for people being in their car driving from A to B, and it's 1,000 miles, and they get from A to B, which is 1,000 miles, and they get there with no time lost?
Well, that's a good point. So maybe there are vortices, time wormholes or whatever that people travel through either on purpose or accidentally.
So you'd start at point A, travelling to your destination at point B, and it's 500 miles, and it's 1 o'clock, and you arrive at point B at 1:05.
Yeah, that would seem to indicate.
Me that something very strange has happened.
Yeah, definitely something very strange is happening. And so, have you traveled through time, or have you traveled to a different place in the Matrix? You know what I mean? The whole Matrix-like aspect, this reality that we live in, has been something that keeps rearing its ugly head.
That tells me that somebody or something has picked up your car and travelled very fast to take it 500 miles in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is to that, but it is rather bizarre.
Yeah.
Keith, I'm getting tired. I'm gonna have to lay it down.
Okay.
All right, thanks for meeting with me. Let's touch base tomorrow.
Okay. Sleep well.
All right, later on.